I wrong for forcing my daughter to go to a party? I, 44 female, have 3 girls who I'll call May 21, Jessica 19, and Diana 16. Of course I'm biased, but all 3 of them are genuinely beautiful and charming. However, Diana isn't as social as her 2 big sisters. It's the classical teenage sitcom differences. May and Jessica were social butterflies in high school. They had lots of friends and were very well known. Diana, on the other hand, has had the same 5-person group of friends since middle school and spends most of their time playing video games, particularly League of Legends and Smash Bros. In general, they are more on the geek side. Like I said, a very cliche difference. Diana has had bad luck, and thanks to lockdown, she hasn't had the full high school experience her sisters had. But she doesn't seem as affected as one would think. On one hand, it makes sense. Despite the worst part of the lockdown last year, she pretty much played with her friends online quite often, so I'm guessing she didn't feel as isolated as her sisters during this time, but still, it concerns me a little. Teenage years are a lot about being social and adventurous, and even without this global situation, she chooses to stay indoors. Anyway, the problem is that Diana's high school is planning a Halloween dance this month since last year it was cancelled. I imagine she'd be excited for her first dance, but she just isn't, and yesterday she told us that the day of the dance, Friday the 29th, she and her friends plan to participate in a local League of Legends tournament. This made me angry. She literally has all the time in the world for video games, but a limited amount of high school events, and she's just ditching them for irrelevant video game tournaments. I usually try to be supportive of her hobbies, but this crossed the line, and I told her she couldn't go to the tournament, and if she didn't go to the dance, then she won't go out that day nor play video games for the weekend. Like I said, my girl is as beautiful as her sisters, and I'm sure she wouldn't have a difficult time making friends. She doesn't have anything to be insecure about. When May and Jessica had this dance, they start prepping in September, trying new styles, finding the best costumes, all of that. I would drive them around to help them in any way possible to prepare. I wouldn't call it a tradition, but it's a moment that's also important for me. After the argument, my husband told me I was being an a-hole, and if she didn't want to go, that was on her. But what if she regrets not going when she's older? She can always play video games, but time won't stop, and she won't be in high school much longer. Still, my husband is rarely this upfront, so I wanted to know, am I wrong here?
Am I the asshole for asking my sister where she got her babies from? My sister, 25, has struggled with infertility problems for years. She and her husband got married at 16 and have been trying since they were 18. Doctors have basically told her she'll never have a baby. My sister is extremely against infant adoption and never even mentioned it to her, or she'll rant on about how it should be banned for hours. Her husband was adopted as an infant, so I guess it comes from that. They have tried IVF in the past, which hasn't worked, and while they aren't against surrogacy, they aren't fans and have stated multiple times they would never go that route. Anyway, 10 months ago, my sister posted on Instagram welcoming her daughter into the world. Of course, we were ecstatic initially. She was healthy, beautiful, and all around an amazing baby. For 3 months, no one noticed anything odd. We assumed my sister just kept a pregnancy secret because she breastfeeds. We weren't aware you could lactate without giving birth. She started coming into her features, and the baby's clearly ethically something else. Facial features and even skin tone doesn't match either of the parents. We are Mexican and her husband is Ashkenazi. We didn't say anything because genetics can be weird. We assumed she adopted and didn't want to go back on her previous statements. Except 4 months ago, it happened again. This time welcoming a son. She added that she was in her 2nd trimester of pregnancy with their 3rd, her first successful pregnancy. A cousin asked if they adopted and my sister got upset and reiterated that they would never. At this point, I'm really suspicious, so finally last week I asked her where the hell the other 2 kids are from. They clearly aren't hers, and if she's still spewing BS about the adoption being trauma, then how the hell did she get them? She got really upset and her husband got pretty angry, and they both got up and left. My entire family is more or less backing me because we're really concerned about where the hell these kids came from. She has seemingly blocked most of us on socials where she posts about her kids and a few mutual friends. She's really angry about it, asking why I have to push and why I can't just be happy for her. It sort of puts us in a bind. I'm concerned about the kids, but also want to be in my sister's life. I don't feel like my question was too out of the ordinary considering how strange the situation is. I don't know. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for warning my dad's girlfriend about his relationship patterns which led to her dumping him? I'm 16 female and my 40-year-old dad has a habit of dating college women and dumping them after like 2 or 3 years. Then complaining about how needy and clingy they were. It's been going on my entire life and it really annoys me. Like, I feel like if he doesn't want someone clingy, a woman in her 20s willing to date a guy who could be your dad maybe isn't the best option. It's seriously like he's allergic to any woman over 23. I've made half-jokey comments before about how I think it's creepy he only dates women 24 and under. But apparently I need to mind my own business even though I live with him full time, so the women he brings over are kind of my business. Especially when he complains to me when he dumps them for being too clingy. Anyway, so about a week ago, he introduced me to his new girlfriend, and she's 21 but could easily pass for my age. Like, she wouldn't be out of place in my high school. I don't know, it really bothered me in particular that day, so when my dad wasn't around, I told her that if she's looking for long-term things, she won't get it from my dad. And he'll definitely dump her before she turns 24, like every other woman he's ever dated. Then he'll call her a pathetic, clingy mess behind her back. I didn't think she believed me because at the time she laughed it off and said it was different with her, but I guess she thought about it and she ended up dumping him yesterday. He must have told my dad what I said because now he's angry at me for interfering in his relationship. And he's hurt I thought of him that way, but that's the truth.
Emma the asshole for stopping someone's engagement? I was at my best friend's wedding and I was her maid of honor. We were going through the toast and one of her bridesmaids, let's call her Emma, had a boyfriend, let's call him Ethan. Ethan stood up to make a toast and was talking about how much the groom helped him meet his girlfriend. Soon this toast was just about how much he loved his girlfriend, and I knew where this was going. The bride looked really annoyed, and then he started to pull something out of his pocket. I went over and grabbed the mic and talked about how happy I am for the bride and groom. After the toast, Ethan came up to me and started getting really angry and asking why I would stop his engagement. He said I ruined it, and I'm just a really terrible person for doing that. I asked him if he even asked the bride and groom's permission, and he said no, but he knew it would be cool. We went back and forth for a little bit until he decided to leave me alone. My best friend, aka the bride, came over and thanked me for stopping it and that she had no idea that was even going to happen. Ethan and Emma are now engaged, and they've been posting on social media about how I ruined their first engagement. And people are really pissed at me. So, am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for telling my soon-to-be mother-in-law that my engagement ring is cursed after she stole it? I, a 26-year-old female, just got engaged. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is a nightmare. We are currently renovating a part of our place and she has been lent a key in the meantime because she keeps coming over uninvited under the guise of helping clean up, but she really just likes snooping and trying to interfere. I do a martial art and take my engagement ring off before class. I came home from an afternoon class one day and my engagement ring was not in the jewelry dish that I usually leave it in. I asked her about it and she told me that she'd taken it to a jeweler to get it cleaned. She looked super smug about it, and when I asked her which jeweler, she pretended she couldn't remember. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of having a reaction to it, so I just let it slide for a couple of days. A couple of days passed and I asked her about it again and she's super vague, still pretending that she can't remember which jeweler and saying that she's too busy to go pick it up anytime soon. So I said, wow, I really feel for that jeweler. Hope nothing happens to her. She asked what I meant, and I told her that my superstitious Brazilian grandmother had performed some traditional ritual on it that's usually known to curse anyone who takes or handles the ring other than the owner. She looked uneasy and asked me a couple of more questions about this ritual, and I made some story up about how my mother's ring had been taken by a burglar who was crushed by a pillar of cement on his way out of the house. I totally made this entire ritual up, and I do have a Brazilian grandmother, but obviously she did not do some type of ritual to my ring. I like the mental warfare. This is dope. The next day, my fiance told me while I was out that she was there to clean up a bit. Behold, I get home and she had already left, and I find my ring where I left it. It didn't look any cleaner than it had before, laugh out loud. Fast forward, a week later, I received an abusive call from her saying she'd been in a minor car accident and she was blaming me and my witch doctor grandmother, saying she is now cursed for having touched it. I passed the phone to my fiance, who tried to calm her down, but she was hysterical. I told my fiance what I told her and he scolded me a bit because we both know how she is and I should have known she'd react this sort of way. It's been a further week since then and she refuses to talk to me and keeps slandering me to my fiance. Overall, he sort of recognizes how ridiculous she's being, but the drama of the situation is making me wonder if the whole curse tale was taking it a bit too far. So am I the a-hole? Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that I never want to speak to her again after she got pregnant at 17? I was so angry that I just went numb and walked away. I've never been so disappointed in my life. We used to be super close, but I don't even talk to her anymore. Today, my daughter came over to me while I was watching TV and asked if we were still watching the Super Bowl together. I was going to ignore her, but I told her, this is the last time I'm speaking to you because obviously everything I've been telling you over the last few years just goes in one ear and out the other. I've never been so disappointed in my life. I told you about safe sex, condoms, birth control. On top of that, you betrayed my trust. You used to tell me everything. I argued with your mother all those times about letting you go to your boyfriend's house because I thought you were responsible and that you would come to me if anything happened, but I was wrong. So from now on, don't talk to me ever again. Anything you want to talk to me about, go tell your mother and have her pass it on to me. Later, my wife comes into my den and asks what happened. I told her to ask her daughter. She said she did, but she couldn't understand her because she was crying so much. I told her what I had said and she got upset and said that I had to talk to her. I told her no, I already did and I'm not talking to her again until I feel comfortable. And I don't be asshole. Look, sir, you are being the a-hole because you are not being the parent in this situation. Take kids make mistakes, and you did your best to open up a line of communication with your daughter and educate her on the risks of having sex. At the end of the day, she got pregnant. I get it, you are disappointed, and it's okay to be disappointed, but that does not give you an excuse to tap out and say, I don't want to be a dad anymore because you made a mistake. That's what kids do. That's what human beings do. She was never going to be perfect, and unfortunately, she has made a mistake that is going to completely change the course of her life, and the only thing you can do as a parent is be there for her. You throwing her to the wolves and ruining your relationship is not going to make her a better person in the long run. It's not going to make you happier. It's not going to make her happier. It will probably lead to her making more bad decisions. So what's more important, your feelings or your daughter? Do you want to be a good father, or do you want to throw a hissy fit because she made a mistake? And I get it. It's not a small one, and she betrayed your trust. You have every right to be mad. But again, it doesn't mean you get to stop being a father because she made a mistake. It happens, and she'll probably make more. But that's what you sign up for when you decide to be a parent, or at least if you decide to be a good one. She can't change what happened. She can only try to do better. But you punishing her with your silence is not going to fix the situation because you can't change the past. And more than likely, it'll be detrimental to not only her future, but your future together. That's your daughter. Be mad, but step up. So yeah, you are the a-hole, not anybody else.
There you go.